Let's move on and as promised, let's get you that big ET Now exclusive. It's with none other than the unicorn Swiggy. We find out what India binged on, which food rather India binged on in the COVID year. Here's Swiggy's CEO, that's Vivek Sunder, in conversation with my colleague Nayantara Rai.
So India binged on the usual suspects. There was a few changes here and there, but effectively the masala dosas were high in demand. The veg biryanis were high in demand. Paneer butter masala was high in demand. So I think if you were to sort of, throw a dart and say which were the topical high comfort items that I really wish I could eat now at home, those are the ones that people tended to order. The other trend that was true is outside of food, desserts became very popular because you were locked in and you basically had no other means of, it was depressing for a lot of people, right? And many people had a lot of difficult times. So desserts started becoming the comfort food, the food to kind of say, let me, in the middle of all of this gloom, let me splurge. So we actually had the usual suspects of chocolate lava cake and so on and so forth surging, but a lot more desserts and cakes were ordered. We had more cakes being ordered during the lockdown than ever before in our history.
So does that also mean India didn't get out of its comfort zone during 2020? Consumers didn't experiment that much. I don't mean so much with new places, but with cuisines.
So a lot of the niche cuisines that people experimented with are not large enough to come into the top 5 list. But if you were to ask the question saying, was there any experimentation in the long tail of restaurants? The answer is yes. And there are 2 reasons for that. One, of course, you're sort of locked in at home. So you are tending to try out new things, especially if it comes with a hygiene badge and stuff like that. The other reason is that a lot of, especially in the unlock, and this is the most, for me, happy moment about what's happening to the restaurant industry. As you know, they've had a terrible, terrible time where dine-in, which was a mainstay for many restaurants, was locked for so many days. And even after it's opened up with so many constraints and, social distancing and stuff like that, it's very difficult to get back the same orders. So a lot of restaurants, new restaurateurs and new chefs have decided to enter into the restaurant business, but with cloud-only options. So we are actually seeing 5,000 restaurants / cloud kitchens coming into the mix, and that obviously provides a significant both cuisine diversity as well as brand diversity. So that has meant that consumers are trying out new things, new cuisines, but it's still not cumulatively enough to come into the top 5. The top 5 for India is the usual suspects, or the old favorites as we call it.
I also believe that Swiggy has got some plan to have a chart on the platform that you're going to be trying up with street vendors so that all of us can have our, bhalla papdi, bhel puri, pani puri at home. Is that indeed correct?
In fact, it's true. That's why I was asking you where you stay, because Delhi was one of the pilots. Banaras was another one of the pilots. So we piloted with 5 cities with something called the Swanidhi program, which is a program to get street vendors hygiene certified and also then digitally enabled to come onto the platform. It's essentially live as we speak. So in over 100 cities of the country, we can actually order dahi balla and papdi chaat and many other amazing street food that this country has. And you can actually order it and it will come with the same Swiggy guarantee and stuff like that. We've obviously invested a lot in partnership with the state and central governments to do the training that is needed for these street vendors and also the certification on hygiene and also how to deal with the digital ecosystem. But it's been amazing how well they have adapted and how quickly they've come in. For most of them, this is their first digital experience. And so they've been trained largely remotely because, of course, we can't travel very easily. And over 100 cities are live. So you can actually order some amazing food in Indore and Lucknow and Chennai and Bangalore, and all the amazing street food that you craved for, you can now get it on Swiggy.
So Vivek, as I start wrapping up this interview, going into 2021, what is your biggest focus area? You really, if I may say so, got a platter with you now, whether it's, you've got cloud kitchens, you've got everybody else who wants to be in cloud kitchens, even the Wendy's of this world who have tied up with Rebel Foods. You also decided you want to be in grocery business. You've got Genie. Are you looking at more segments? What's the focus area for the new year?
So I think job number 1 is to focus on the core business, which is food delivery, because that's our mainstay still, and make sure that it recovers and grows, because there is still so many million consumers to be served, that we think the growth potential for food is there for the next 3 to 5 years easily. So we've got a very strong sense on what needs to happen for food delivery over the next 3 to 5 years. So that's job zero. And the way we'll do that is by making sure that we solve consumer problems in a segmented sort of a way, and understand their need states, especially given the fact that demographics have changed, where people are living have changed, how people are behaving has changed. So understanding those nuances and adapting that into the offering is part and parcel of this. I mean, the days when people would order a working lunch in a working breakfast, by coming into office, is pretty much zero. Nobody is ordering in a working breakfast in offices, because offices are not full. So that slot is almost taken away. So you've got to think a little bit about what are the new opportunities that have come up in food that we can serve. And there are many such occasions and opportunities that have come up that we are actually trying to solve. So solving food and growing food is job zero or job one for our company. Job number two is we've got these amazing new businesses that actually were sort of scaled in a big way and actually found their own wings during the pandemic, which is, Genie and grocery and Instamart and meat and a bunch of them. So we'll take these adjacencies or these new businesses and make sure that they scale nicely in a nicely complementary manner, because of course the delivery fleet is the same and a lot of the background infrastructure that we need is the same. So using the power of a common infrastructure and economies of scale, we will want to scale these companies, but of course in a far more financially sustainable fashion than if they were standalone businesses. By definition, if it's an adjacent business, it'll scale more efficiently than if it was a standalone business. So we do intend to scale these businesses because consumers are liking a lot of what we offer on Insta, on Genie, and a whole bunch of others that we have. So that's job number two. But as an innovative company, we can't just sit there and say, okay, we've got these two and we're just going to do this, because the market is changing. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of consumer behavior when the vaccine comes in. We don't know what's going to happen when consumer habits and practices change vis-a-vis offices reopening, and so on and so forth. So we think that thinking about consumers and their new problem spaces and coming up with new food and non-food offerings using the power of what we have should be job number three, which is identifying new problems to solve so that we can come up with new solutions. And whether they fall under a new brand name or fall under the same brand name is then a different discussion. But Genie did come out of that thought process that says, hey, listen, we've got delivery fleet, we've got consumers, we know how to connect the two, we have a digital ecosystem, we understand technology. How do we solve those problems using the delivery fleet and the consumer is really how Genie came about. So we think that we will be able to find out one or two more areas to go after and solve, provided they leverage the strengths that we have, which is in technology, which is in hyper-local operations, hyper-local real-time operations, and the consumer centricity. So we think those are the three that we will do in that order, actually.